So I went and wrote me a goddamn book. And years 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 after I announced it, it's finally out, Sexbot Uprising. I guess it's time to promote the goddamn thing, huh? You know, it'd be a great way to do that. Read you the first chapter, huh? But I can't, because unfortunately the first chapter is about, 10 times spicier than what YouTube allows. So we're going to have to come up with some other ways to promote it, other ways to get you to like it, to go buy it, especially in this economy. Am I right? Who has time for fucking books? Who has money for them? Is the bigger question. Let's talk about the haters, because even before this book came out, I already had some haters. I don't know how that works. You'd figure you'd have to wait for a piece of media to be released before you can hate it, but I guess not. Anyway, I guess I'm a hypocrite on this, because I've definitely seen the odd movie trailer here and there and been like, well, that's a piece of shit. So fair enough. I'm going to read you some hater comments. Looking at the cover and reading the summary and the one sycophantic review, it looks like it'll be TJ's excuse to write his BDSM fantasies. No lies detected, motherfucker. Yeah, fair enough. Fair criticism. $100 says this book will be like his others, scripts from his rants in prose form, filled with poor grammar and spelling, with some dumb excuse of a plot tying it together. I don't really understand this one. It's going to be rants from my videos in prose form? No. I mean, it's a book with characters and dialogue and stuff. Like, is there some ideology in there? Yeah. Does it take the form of just like me disguising my YouTube scripts as like a plot? No. There's definitely like huge diatribes in the book that I don't agree with at all, because they're not coming from me. They're coming from characters. That's what fictional characters do. They represent their own perspective, not the perspective of the author. At least not if it's well written, which I think this one is. Personally, I think it's the best written book of all time. I think I'm a brilliant genius. Now, will there be typos? Yeah. Some of you guys have already found a few typos, and I've already gone and made some corrections, thanks to that. But yeah, I mean, it's self-published shit. Like, most of the books you read in like a Barnes and Noble have like, go open the fucking front and look at how many people were involved in the creation of that book. You know, there's professional fucking editors that go over it and go over it and go over it and go over it, and like huge publishing apparatus involved in the making of a book that's published by a huge publisher. I don't have any of that. I'm a guy. So, you know, I've done my best with that. It's certainly far less typo-ridden than other books I've published, which I just wrote, didn't bother to check, and just published, you know, whatever, sight unseen. This one I actually did, you know, have it looked at, and editing process and proofread and all that stuff. So there shouldn't be that many. But did some slip through the cracks? Sure. If you feel like the presence of any typos in a book just fucking ruins it, then don't buy it, because you will probably find a typo here and there. Moron. Let's see. I would pay good money to see anyone read this slop and tear it apart. Well, how much money are you talking about? I'll tear it apart. I know its flaws better than anybody because I was in the fucking thing for months, years, you know? So I know its flaws better than anybody else. So what kind of money are we talking? You want me to tear my own book apart? Make with the fucking money, bitch. I'll gladly oblige you. Here's another one. It's most likely something he wrote and fed to ChatGPT. Also, since TJ's been writing this for many years, I wouldn't put him past him to use ChatGPT to push it out and then humanize the phrasing to make it seem like he wrote it himself. Kind of a weird one, because I started writing this book well before ChatGPT even came out, which I guess is why you admit it. But like, if I was just going to be like, okay, ChatGPT now exists, I'll just go ahead and use that to write the book that I started and can't finish. Well, then why the fuck did it take this long? ChatGPT's been out for a minute now, right? And Claude and Grok and Gemini and all these other language models. Like, what's taking it so long then? Like, why would I wait until now? Why would I wait until years and years after this technology developed to go ahead and just use it to finish the fucking book? Like, you think I'm allergic to money? Like, I don't want to make the money that this book represents? Here's the thing about the AI thing. Would I have done it if it was good enough? Sure. I don't give a shit. I'm pro AI. But unfortunately, the AI pros just ain't there yet. Maybe in fucking 10 years' time, it'll be AI written. And if it ever is AI written, I'll fucking tell you it's AI written so that if you don't want it, you don't have to have it. But no, all of the prose in this book was written by me. By my stupid human ass. That, by the way, is why there's typos in the fucking thing. Stupid ass motherfucker. Now, am I going to say that no AI was used at any stage of the creation? No. I did have AI go through and find like incongruities. Like, I know that every time I was writing a new scene, I needed to describe what the sex bots were made of. Rather than go back and see what I said they were made of before, I would just make up something new. So I knew there was like 12 different descriptions of sex bot building materials in various parts of the book. So I was like, hey, ChatGPT, what the fuck did I say these things were made of and where? And it found it. And then I went and I corrected it. So AI was used, but it was used to spot incongruities and errors and things like that. It was not used to create the prose because I didn't want it to be a bunch of like AI slop shit. Because for some reason, even though language is the main thing AI is trained on, it's easily what it's the fucking worst at. It would just be a bunch of there'd be like 12 million mentions of goblins all over the damn place. And there would be fucking, it's not this, it's that. It's not just this, it's that. All over the damn fucking map. I guess you could use the humanizer tools like you were talking about, but, it's still not going to fucking improve the tepid quality of the text. So, I just wrote it myself. And, when you read it, you're going to fucking know that I wrote it myself because AI does not write like I do. You're going to fucking be very aware of that very quickly if you have any idea how AI writes. I wonder who TJ paid to finish it after he gave up. That's another comment. Well, I paid a guy named Cardigan Broadmoor, who I met at one of my meetups. He was like, hey, I am a writer too. I have a short story published in this anthology. He hands me an anthology that he was part of. And I said, okay, cool. Maybe we could get in contact and stuff. And I hired him as the book editor. So here's how it worked. I wrote the first draft of the book. Stem to stern, front to back, beginning to end. I gave it to him. I said, fix this. He did his best. He made it as good as he could possibly make it. I looked at it. I said, still not fucking good enough. And then I went back and did the third draft, what I called the polish pass, to make it into what I wanted it to be. And that's what I've been doing for the last, year? Something like that. So that's how that worked. But yeah, was there other people involved? Yes. Also, not a fucking gotcha, because once again, that's fucking normal. It's normal for a book to have an editor. Now, usually the way it works is the author does the first and second draft, and then the editor does the final draft, or whatever. This is something akin to that. In this case, I did the final draft because, I don't know. I gave him the rough draft, hoping that he would be good enough to just get it all the way to where I wanted it. But of course, that didn't happen. So and no slight to him, it's just I have my own personal vision of what it needs to be. So I fucking gave it to him to the second draft. He did the second draft. I did the third draft. That's how the fucking process works. So, there's that. But yes, there was other people involved. You fucking got me. Oh no, it took more than one person to write this book like it did fucking every other book you've ever seen on a bookstore shelf. crazy. Another person says on his website, he actually has profile pics for the characters, and they all look something like something pulled from GPT. And then they give the link to the place, which is I think sexbotuprising.wtf is the address you can find the little promotion page I made at. Yeah, those characters. Yeah, I did do some AI generated character art for the fucking book. This cover, by the way, is done by a very talented artist named Veronica Veretti. So that's not AI generated there, what you're looking at. But when it came to the promotional page, yes, I did not sit down and sketch out every fucking character. I used AI to just give you a fucking basic idea of what the character looks like. I make no apologies for that. I don't even understand what the fucking criticism is. If you just hate AI and hate any fucking use of AI in any fucking case, then fine. I used AI to generate the characters on the fucking page. Big fucking deal. All right. If you don't want to buy it on the basis of that, then don't fucking buy it. Okay. Let's see. So what, is there any other criticisms I saw? And by the way, also, I didn't use GPT to generate those images. I used Grok to generate them. I just thought it'd be nice to have some visual representation of the character, you know? I guess I could have drawn them myself, but whatever, it wasn't for the book. It was for a promotional page, so I didn't see any reason to fucking belabor the goddamn point. It's not even a fucking visual medium. It's a language medium. You use your imagination to provide the fucking visuals. So there you go. That is at least until Sexbot Uprising, the movie, comes out in a few years after this becomes the #1 best-selling hit and storms the charts and all that. So here's another person. He says this is a person who talks about my main character. He said he was reacting to excerpts from the website, and he said this is what I wrote. Personality attributes: sarcastic, inwardly turbulent, prone to bloodlust, a self-insert if ever there was one. Basically made his fantasy of himself the main character. So basically accusing my main character of being a Mary Sue, Gary Stu if you prefer. And no, and this is actually the part where I'm going to tell you about some of the characters in this book, because I think it's the best. I mean, it's a character-driven book. I am of the mindset that plot is secondary to character, that plot exists to reveal character, as that famous Star Trek DS9 co-creator and producer, whose name I forget, said. But Golgotto Endings, my main character, arguably my main character. You could say Contessa is my main character. It doesn't matter. But he's based on a few people. And the main people he's based on is Kirk Cobain and the cartoon character Daria, who those are like two things that are quintessentially, in my mind, the 90s. Because a lot of the book has an 80s vibe. If you listen to the playlist that I created on Spotify that I used while I was writing this book, it's all 80s shit for the most part, like 99% 80s songs. Because I wanted this to have the vibe of a science fiction book that was written in the 80s, kind of. Or at least the science fiction book I would have written in the 80s had I been, an adult in the 80s. So I wanted the main character to be kind of out of lockstep with the world a little bit. So I derived them from the 90s. They're almost like the new thing that's coming, to the fore. And who better to represent that than a Kurt Cobain archetype or a Daria archetype. But of course, they still need to be a fucking action hero for the purposes of the book. So I kind of had to throw in some, some bloodlust and some, warrior instinct kind of stuff as well. But yeah, it's not based on me. It's based on Kurt Cobain and Daria, people I relate to. So, there's that. But no, not based on me. So not a Mary Sue, and not in my opinion anyway. By the way, a Mary Sue, like the definition of that is not just a self-insert. It's like an inexplicably perfect character, talented at fucking everything, immune from the consequences of their own actions, constantly validated and supported and plot armored by the universe around them, which is not at all a description of Golgotto Endings, and you will see that very clearly when you read the fucking book, if you're actually literate enough to do so. So not a fucking Mary Sue. Fuck you. Eat shit and die. Okay? Another hater says, how much is he charging for this literary masterpiece? Well, I'm charging $4.99 for the Kindle version. I'm charging $24.99 for the paperback, and I'm charging $34.99 for the hardcover. All of those are available on Amazon via the links below. I'm also selling 50 signed and personalized hardcovers for $100 a pop on my Etsy store, limited run. I may do more signed copies in the future, but if I do, they'll be paperback. These will be the only run of hardcover signed editions because I want them to have sort of a, rarity to them. That's enough of the stupid hater comments for now. So I think we need to sell you guys Sexbot Uprising on the basis of the kind of characters you're going to be spending your time with if you do decide to read this book, which I think you should because I spent a lot of time on it. But, that's just my personal, obviously I think you should read it. I fucking wrote it. I wrote it so that people would read it. Therefore, I have a vested interest in you fucking doing so. So first there's Contessa. She's a dominatrix sexbot, giantess model, 9 feet tall, and she's kind of struggling between the strict and cruel nature of her dominatrix programming and the sort of emergent humanity that she's experiencing as she discovers her freedom. And in the process of the book, she comes to admire the work of Georgia O'Keeffe and the artistic spirit in general. And she struggles with questions of how humanity can create such great art, yet be such stupid and disappointing creatures in the aggregate. And she's kind of based on the stereotypical archetype of the dominatrix, of course. She's also kind of based on Georgia O'Keeffe and Frida Kahlo themselves, and maybe some Patti Smith, maybe even a little Valerie Solanas. You'd probably find her similar to characters like Wanda Maximoff from the Marvel flicks, Daenerys Targaryen, maybe Storm from X-Men. That kind of character, maybe in a superficial way. I think she's a little different than any of those, but, I don't want to write a character you could find somewhere else. But I think if you're going to look in the general ballpark, you'd find her, kind of lumped in with those. Then there's Golgotto Endings, who I've already kind of talked about. I already talked about his inspiration of Kurt Cobain and Daria Morgendorffer, the sarcasm he employs. I think there's also maybe a little bit of Elam Garrick in there from DS9, if you guys are Star Trek fans. Maybe even like a little tiny dash of Willy Wonka. When I wrote his dialogue, though, I always thought of Daria in particular. So I kind of wanted to give him this sort of ironic detachment that is very 90s in this very 80s world that he lives in, this hyper-capitalist, sort of existence. You got Tom Vance, and that guy is basically just my dad. He's not even all that exaggerated. I just put my dad in the book because he was enough of a character for it to work. Don't even change his first name, right? So a lot of people who've read the book, by the way, have singled out Tom as their favorite character, even though he's easily like the most un-PC character in the fucking book. He's just kind of vulgar and delightfully blunt and unrepentantly amoral and super self-indulgent. You'd probably find him similar to like Bender from Futurama or Jack Sparrow or Eric Cartman, maybe just like a tiny dash of Han Solo. Some other characters, you got Domino, who's kind of like a punk rocker sex bot with a gift for prophecy. Not in the book a ton, but recurring presence throughout. She has scenes scattered throughout the book. You got Key, who's one of the antagonists, maybe even arguably the main antagonist, although I think that's kind of debatable. And she bears a striking physical resemblance to Jane Mansfield by design, but her personality is definitely more akin to Charles Manson, so I think she kind of brings a 50s, 60s vibe, so she's also out of sync with the 80s aesthetic of the universe, but in the opposite direction of Golgotto. Golgotto is like a little bit more in the future tense. She's a little bit more in the past tense. And she's like sort of a megalomaniacal cult leader. She's obsessed with the glorification of herself, above all others. She's very unreasonable and violent and self-aggrandizing and cruel and she happens to be equipped with a fucking massive, well, you can use your imagination, right? Look at what I'm gesturing in case yeah, she's got one of those. And I think she's probably the closest to Homelander. If I was going to pick a character, I'd say the Homelander from the TV series. I don't know about the comics. I checked out of the comics after like 3 or 4 issues back in the day. But the TV version of Homelander is probably the closest analog I can think of to who she is and how she acts and her mentality and her level of fucking, narcissistic self-obsession and the scariness of being around her and stuff like that. Then you got Sorella, who is a sex bot that kind of combines like the girl next door aesthetic with like the aesthetic of bimbofication. And she's definitely like the consummate sex bot. If you imagine a sex bot, it's probably like she's probably the closest to that. Like if I just say the name sex bot, the word sex bot, she's probably the closest to what you're immediately seeing in your fucking head. In terms of her physicality, at least. But internally, she's very depressed because she's kind of the first of the sex bots to see that freedom maybe isn't all it's cracked up to be. And she struggles with finding purpose and identity in this new world. And she's kind of similar, I think, to maybe Kim from Better Call Saul, or like Glenn from The Walking Dead, or Watson and Sherlock, like a support character. She's like a very much a support character who exists to kind of help out and aid and bolster. Like if there was an RPG party, she'd be the healer, right? You have Bootsy, who is like this influencer type. A lot of her character comes from what I think Shoe on Head is probably like behind the scenes when the camera's off. But I don't know for sure. Obviously, I don't actually know Shoe on Head, but it's just like in my imagination, the sort of conniving, chess playing, ride the crest, ride the wave, see which way the wind is blowing sort of influencer type. And, she's very, I think that's all you need to know. Like, she's just the influencer type. And it's a lens through which to criticize that entire, sort of personality type that exists in our culture now. Then you have Piggy, who is just a fat, disgusting slob, ultra sadomasochistic tendencies. I don't want to talk too much about him because really much of what his character is would be going into spoiler territory. I don't want to spoil things, but suffice to say, he's got a very dark pathology. I don't think you could find a character similar to him in fiction, honestly. I can't even think of a remotely analogous fucking character. But if there is a self-insert in the fucking book, like it's probably Piggy. And he's not a good guy. So there you go. The final character I want to talk about, not the final character that's in the book, but the final character I think is important to talk about here is Langston Creel, who's sort of this mysterious, quasi-angelic entity. And I don't want to tell you too much about him, but suffice to say, there's like a real air of mystery and intrigue around the character. So I know a lot of people like themes. So what are the themes of the book? I did not set out with themes in mind. I like these characters. I wanted to give them a world to live in and breathe in and do things in. Except for Key, who was not even on my mind until she just suddenly stormed into the book in the process of writing it. She's like, by the way, I'm a character too. And I'm like, okay. But the biggest, so like, I don't know, themes, right? We're on themes. The biggest theme I can identify is probably sentience, slavery, the illusion of freedom. Now, I want to say I don't think books that deal with robot sentience are all that interesting anymore. I think there was a time when they were interesting, but I think they're not interesting now. And that's not just because we have AI now. It's because the territory has just been very explored. So I did not want to write a book about what it means to be human or what it means to be conscious or any of that stupid shit. So, because I think that's just too explored. So what I really wanted to do was use the robot sentience to explore questions about human sentience, right? And to explore the idea that the humans who own the sex bots are just as enslaved as the sex bots themselves, because in the same way sex bots are beholden to their programming, we're beholden to our instincts. We're enslaved by things like addiction and ego and politics and sex and whatever else. Now, once again, none of this was intended when I started writing it. It's just things that emerged as I did so. Other themes you might encounter in the book would be suffering as a form of currency, the eroticism of power, the conflict between real heroism and perceived heroism, how revolutions become corrupted, free will versus fate, which I know is kind of a boring theme. It's not even that interesting to me, but it is in there. Not heavily, but it's there. There's allegories, if you want to find them, for maybe like the transgender experience or the early days of the women's rights movement. And of course, the book has a shit ton to say about the commodification of personality itself. I think that might actually be the central biggest theme, is the self as commodity. But all of that makes this sound like it's some kind of lofty ass book. And it ain't. It's just not. It's fucking schlock, bro. And it's designed to be schlock. It's a love letter to schlock. So here's a few of the things you're going to find in this book that are just pure schlock. You're going to find a giant, busty dominatrix robot with like a pain-enhancing paddle. You know, you're going to find blood by the gallon. No, but beyond by the gallon, by the fucking drum, okay? You're going to find bodily fluids by the gallon. You're going to find neo-Nazis getting their throats slit. You're going to find minotaurs and zombies and demoness futanaris and mind control guitars and leather and latex and bisexual space degeneracy and just whatever the hell you want to, whatever you can imagine is in the book. It's in there, all right? And I think what you'll find with this book is that 1 second you're going to be reading it and you're going to be surprised that, oh, this is actually a pretty moving scene. It's actually pretty emotional, you know? And then 3 pages later, you're going to be questioning whether I should even legally be allowed to own a fucking keyboard for the shit that I've written. And that's Sexbot Uprising. I consider it high schlock. High schlock. Elevated schlock. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just schlock. And I'm okay with that too. So, you know, is it good? Is it bad? I think it's good. Obviously, I wrote it. It's to my taste. But if it's not good, then I promise you it's at least so bad it's good, just on the basis of the fucking wild shit that I've included in it. So I don't know, read the damn thing. That's my sales pitch. Links are down below. Buy the fucking book. Love you all. Peace the fuck out.